You're listening to Media History Podcast,
where stories echo beyond the headlines.
Welcome to Media History Podcast. Today, we're tackling, well, a really fascinating figure, someone full of contradictions. Dorothy Day.
She really is. It's hard to pin her down. You've got this journey from dedicated socialist, journalist, activist.
Even a communist sympathizer early on.
Right. And then she becomes this incredibly devout, radical Catholic publisher, a pacifist, and now, well, she's actually on the formal path to Catholic sainthood.
That leap, from writing for revolutionary papers like The Liberator to being named a servant of God by the church, it's just extraordinary.
It really is.
So our goal today is to figure out how she used journalism, her writing, as this bridge between really radical social justice ideas and deep spiritual faith.
And her life spanned such a tumultuous period, didn't it? Born in 1897, died in 1980, she saw and wrote about massive global changes.
And used media through all of it.
Exactly, at every stage. And what's key is, like you said, she defies easy labels. She constantly challenged everyone, the government, political allies, even the church itself at times.
Okay, let's dig into that journey. Where does it begin? Her childhood sounds pretty turbulent. Brooklyn Heights, initially?
That's right, born there. But her father, John Day, was a horse racing reporter, so the family moved around. Oakland, California, in 1904.
A big family, 7 of them.
Yes, constantly adapting. And then something pretty major happens that's tied directly to the media world.
You mean the 1906 San Francisco earthquake?
Precisely. It destroyed her father's newspaper, just wiped it out.
Wow. So that forced another move.
To Chicago, yeah. And this period seems really important for understanding her internal landscape. She's described as being quite conflictual and explosive as a child.
Even stealing from her mother.
Apparently so. There's this rebellious streak right from the start.
Which is fascinating, considering where she ends up. How does that rebellion connect to her later faith? That seems like a total mismatch.
Well, maybe not entirely, because the rebellion wasn't just against rules. It was also sort of against comfort, against convention. Even though they were relatively middle class, she started reading the Bible almost as an act of defiance against her atheist father and non-practicing parents.
Interesting. So a spiritual rebellion almost.
Kind of. And it seems linked to this growing empathy, this drive to understand suffering.
Which she took to extremes, didn't she? That story about living in an icy attic.
Yeah, surviving on just salted peanuts. She was deliberately trying to experience destitution firsthand as a teenager.
That's tense.
It really shows this deep-seated need for radical empathy that was there long before any political ideology took hold.
And then around 18, she finds an outlet for that, the Socialist Party.
Right. And her time at the University of Illinois from 1914 to 16 wasn't so much about classes.
More about reading.
Exactly. Devouring Russian literature, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Gorky, that really laid the groundwork for her interest in social justice, communism, social work.
She was so committed, she dropped out of university.
Yep, in 1916, headed straight for New York City. Apparently, she used the money her father sent her for living expenses to help the poor, while she lived really frugally herself.
Okay, so she lands in New York, and she gets into journalism quickly.
Very quickly. She had the talent and the drive, started writing for big socialist magazines, The Masses, The Liberator.
Pushing for socialism, women's suffrage.
And she got amazing access. She wrote for The Call, which was pro-revolutionary Russian, and managed to interview people like Leon Trotsky.
Trotsky? Really?
Yeah. She wasn't just commenting from the sidelines. She was right there on the front lines of revolutionary journalism.
And her activism wasn't just writing, right? She got physically involved, arrested.
Oh, yeah. First time was November 1917, picketing the White House for women's voting rights. Part of that Silent Sentinels campaign.
What happened?
Sentenced to 30 days in jail, served 15, and she went on a hunger strike while she was inside.
So intense political commitment. But her personal life was complicated, too, during this time.
Very much so. Relationships, including with Eugene O'Neill and Mike Gold. And then something really difficult happened.
The abortion.
Yes. At 23, her lover at the time, Lionel Moyes, apparently convinced her that having a child just wasn't compatible with the life of a social activist.
That must have been devastating for her.
It clearly left a huge mark. She wrote about it later in her novel, The 11th Virgin, in 1924. She wrestled with the idea of freedom and its cost.
Is that the quote about freedom being a trap?
That's the one. I thought I was a free and emancipated young woman, and I discovered that I was not at all. Freedom is a fashionable creation, a trap. It's quite revealing.
And she actually sold the movie rights to that book.
She did. bought a beach house with the money, tried to step back a bit, but another major relationship was about to shift things again.
With Foster Batterham, the biologist and activist.
Right, starting around 1925, and this relationship really brought two things to the forefront for Day. Her developing religious feelings and, quite unexpectedly, motherhood.
Unexpectedly, because of the earlier abortion.
Exactly. She feared she might be infertile. But then her daughter, Tamar Teresa, was born in March 1926.
And that changed everything for her.
It seems like the absolute catalyst. Batterham was strongly anti-religion, especially Catholicism. He just couldn't accept it.
But Day chose her faith.
She did. She had Tamar baptized in July 1927, and then she herself was baptized that December.
Even though it cost her the relationship and strained things with family and friends.
Yes. It was a definitive choice for her. She separated from Batterham in 1929, right around the stock market crash.
So she's a single mother, the economy's collapsing. She
Yeah.
goes back to journalism.
She does, but initially maybe less political, writing garden columns, book reviews for Commonweal, the Catholic magazine.
But the activist fire wasn't out.
Not at all, just dormant. Then in 1932, she covered a hunger strike in Washington, D.C.
And that rekindled things.
It seems to have solidified her resolve. She knew she needed to find a way, a media platform, to bring together her Catholic faith and her passion for social justice.
Enter Peter Morin.
Exactly, the key partner. A fascinating figure himself, not formally educated, but with these incredibly clear, strong ideas rooted in Catholic social teaching.
He provided the spark she needed.
He provided the framework, the philosophy. He inspired her to merge her journalistic skills with her faith in a concrete way.
And the result was The Catholic Worker.
Launched May 1st, 1933, May Day, a deliberate choice.
What was the core mission? It sounds revolutionary for its time.
It absolutely was. They wanted to reach people suffering during the Depression and argue that the Catholic Church, not communism, had a real, viable social program.
And the paper itself reflected this blend, right? Church teachings alongside strike reports.
Precisely. Publishing papal encyclicals next to first-hand accounts of labor struggles and poverty. It was a visual argument that true faith demanded solidarity with the poor.
And the way they ran it was radical, too.
Completely. No ads. Everyone worked for free.
Sold for just 1 cent.
From day one, it embodied the principle of voluntary poverty they preached.
Did it work? Did people respond?
Phenomenally. The first print run was small, maybe 2,500 copies, but it grew incredibly fast. 25,000 pretty quickly.
And then?
By 1936, circulation hit 150,000. It tapped into a real need.
Just incredible growth. And it's still going today, isn't it?
Remarkably, yes. Still published.
And the paper wasn't just words on a page. It led to direct action. The houses of hospitality.
Immediately. Day's own apartment became the first one, a place offering food and shelter. By 1937, they were feeding hundreds of people a day.
Making the message tangible.
Exactly. Like the story of her giving away her diamond ring to a beggar.
Arguing God made diamonds for everyone.
Right. It was about living the principles, not just writing about them.
But as the movement grew, her own philosophy got quite complex. She was a staunch pacifist, refused war taxes.
Absolutely. Uncompromising on pacifism.
But she also opposed the welfare state. That seems counterintuitive for someone so focused on the poor.
It does, but it came from her belief in Catholic personalism. She worried the big centralized state, even with good intentions, could turn people into dependent clients.
So she favored direct personal charity.
Yeah.
Like the houses of hospitality.
Yes. Voluntary acts of mercy, neighbor helping neighbor, rather than relying on impersonal government programs. It was about preserving the individual's role and responsibility.
That pacifism must have caused huge friction during World War II.
Oh, immensely. That was probably her biggest test. In 1941, she urged young men to refuse military service to be conscientious objectors.
And the paper circulation just plummeted.
Dramatically. And the pressure wasn't just from the public.
The church hierarchy, too.
Yes. They threatened to take away the name Catholic from the paper unless she publicly condemned the communist people she'd worked alongside for years.
Wow. What a position to be in. Condemn former allies or lose the Catholic identity of her work.
It was intense.
So what did she do? Did she condemn them?
She refused. She wouldn't condemn them outright like that. She prioritized her conscience and her understanding of social teaching over the political pressure.
But she pulled back on the anti-war stuff.
She did scale back the most direct anti-war protests. She focused more on prayer, on spiritual resistance during that time. It was her way of navigating it, holding on to her core beliefs without, perhaps, completely alienating everyone?
But she didn't stop being an activist after the war.
Not at all. She kept going. Jailed in the 50s for protesting those civil defense drills, the atom bomb drills.
And protested Vietnam in the 60s.
Right. A difficult time, especially with the tragedy of Roger Laporte's self-immolation during one protest.
And she took her message globally, didn't she? And not always to places you'd expect. Cuba?
Yes, visited Cuba in 1960, praised some of Castro's social programs, which raised eyebrows, of course.
Then protesting nuclear weapons at the Second Vatican Council in Rome.
Yes, in 1965. Always pushing. And then later in 1971, she toured the Eastern Bloc.
The USSR, Poland, Hungary.
Romania, too. And while she was there in the Soviet Union, she publicly defended Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the dissident writer.
Which again shows she wasn't picking political sides.
Not at all. It reinforces that her driving force was always human dignity, focusing on the poor and oppressed, regardless of the political system, communist, capitalist.
Or even sometimes challenging aspects of the Catholic institution itself.
Exactly.
She stayed active right up until her death in 1980, didn't she? Still editor of the Catholic Worker.
Right to the end. Criticized by some feminists for her views on emancipation, criticized by some Catholics for being too radical for her past.
Yet the impact is undeniable.
So undeniable that the Church actually started the canonization process in 1997, formally launched in 2016.
And multiple popes have recognized her significance. John Paul II?
And Pope Francis. He specifically named her one of 4 exemplary Americans in his speech to the U.S. Congress. That's quite something.
It really is. From the 11th Virgin and that early turmoil to the long loneliness, her autobiography, and now potentially St. Dorothy. It shows how powerful journalism can be as a tool for change, both personal and social, even against huge pressures.
Which does leave us with a challenging question, doesn't it? Especially for you listening today. In our world, which feels so hyperpolarized, so siloed,
could someone like Dorothy Day, with such a complex mix of radical politics and deep specific religious faith, could they launch something like the Catholic Worker today? Could that kind of unified movement even find footing now?
It's definitely something to think about. Could that bridge between radical action and deep faith be built in today's media environment?
A tough question. Thank you for joining us on Media History Podcast.
Join us next time for another exploration into media history.
See you soon, and stay curious.